Happy Saturday. Listen to this. As we look back on all those troubles we used to have when we were drinking, the hospitals, the jails, we wonder, how could we have wanted that kind of life? As we look back on it now, we see our drinking life as it really was, and we're glad we're out of it. So after a few months in AA, we find that we can honestly say that we want something else more than drinking. We've learned by experience that a sober life is really enjoyable, and we wouldn't go back to the old drunken way of living for anything in the world. Do I want to keep sober a lot more than I want to get drunk? That's the question, friends. I see it so much at this point. It's everywhere. It's in all the threads. It's in all the tweets. Everywhere I head on the internet anymore, in these threads now that I'm kind of actively online. I went out last night. Today's day one again. I got drunk again. I'm back. Now I know what I did wrong. Now I know what went south. It's the same question all the time. Do I want to stay sober more than I want to get drunk? Today's reading goes on to discuss the spiritual aspect of our sobriety. It goes on to discuss consciousness of God, our higher power. I won't get into that at this point. It's too much of a debate. But what I wanted to touch on, and it ties into so much that's happening in our world today. Oh my goodness. We've learned by experience that a sober life is really enjoyable, and we wouldn't go back to the old drunken way of living for anything in the world. We've learned by experience. Head over to Google right now. Hit stop. Come back to this later on. I'm not that important. Trust me, I'm not. Head over to Google, search repeatable results. That's it. Repeatable results. See where that lands you. And if it doesn't land you on a million plus hits regarding the scientific method, I don't know what's going on with your browser, because it should. I go back to my very first days in high school. I headed to Centennial Secondary School in Windsor, Ontario, West Windsor, South Windsor, North Windsor, whatever. West end of Windsor. And I was warned by my sister about a couple of teachers. One of those teachers was Mr. Snyder. Mr. Snyder was a science teacher. And Mr. Snyder would burn you, man. I'll burn you. He'll burn you, man. He'd burn you if you screwed around in his class. My favorite teacher of all time, Mr. Snyder. You had rules, you had to follow, and you did well in his class. And what have I spoken about in these videos? I needed those positive male influences to crack on me and keep me honest and keep me on track. Mr. Snyder was that guy. Right out of the gate, day one, grade 9, physics class, at least for me, repeatable results. That's what science is about, repeatable results, man. That's why those of us in this side of the argument are cool. We're good. We're golden. Repeatable results. I've seen it. I've lived 25 years with a woman that has endured multiple sclerosis. She came up out of a wheelchair and she's never looked back. My wife is a legitimate miracle because of repeatable results, because I believe in the science. If you want your car fixed, you want to figure out that internal combustion engine and the problems in it, science. You want your eyes fixed? Glasses. Science. You want your teeth fixed? Science. Dentistry. Our world is full of it. We're on the internet right now thanks to science. It's insane that the other side of this argument cherry picks all of the little things and ignores repeatable results. 25 years of my life, I have witnessed day in, day out, one day at a time, over 9,000 days, repeatable results. When we're drunk, repeatable results. Insanity is going back to the same thing and expecting different results. We live experience. We live it every day of our lives. This hot stove is going to burn my fingers. Better use some oven mitts. When we get to this place in sobriety and we understand that there's a new way to live, we then have to reteach ourselves. And that's the struggle. It's living day in and day out to continue to grind through this process. I'm no scientist, I'm no doctor, I'm just a random dude who happened to hit this formula and figure it out. But my understanding, through the medical professionals that I've been able to connect with that helped me get to a place where I could finally quit smoking 12, 13 years ago, the same guys who told me, hey man, work on the drinking thing, the smoking thing will come. Usually about 2 weeks in, 14 days, 14, 15 days, if you've been off the sauce, off the drugs, off the cigarettes, off of caffeine, whatever it is that you're trying to kick, about 14 days is a good number. If you're doing the right things, if you're flushing your system, all of that stuff is gone and you've hit a bit of a reset. Physically speaking, 14 days is a good number. That stuff's out of your system. The rest of the journey is literally learning how to live that new life. And when he writes about after a couple of months in AA, that's kind of where we're going with this. If you've made it past that first couple of weeks and you flush your system a little bit, and now you're continuing to grind and you're hitting the meetings and you're studying the books and the literature and you're making notes and you've connected with some friends and you're doing some studying, you're getting into that place now 2 and 3 and 4 months in where you're starting to hit the rhythm, and these repeatable results are starting to reveal themselves to you. Oh, if I do this, this is going to happen. If I think this way, that's a different way to perceive things. It's a different way to understand things. It's everything that's going on in our world today. Those of us on this side of the argument get it. Repeatable results, right? I wish I had some answers as to how to rescue somebody, how to hit the switch and turn the light bulb on for some people. We just don't have that capability. All we can do is share the information and pass it on to the best of our ability. It's often a tragic thing, right? I was told early on that 3 things await us: jails, institution, and death. 2 out of 3 for me. I wasn't willing to stick around for the third, man. I figured it out, right? And I had the blessing of a generational scenario where I could draw on the experience of others, right? There's that old statement, a wise man learns from his mistakes. The wiser man learns from the mistakes of others. I ate that like it was my last meal, man. Like I soaked that right in and I clung to that idea. I didn't want to make those mistakes. I wanted to soak up knowledge anywhere I could get my hands on it. 25 years later, I can say things like what I said in the other video, yesterday's video, I believe. I know this to be true. I have 25 years, 9,100 and some days of repeatable results to get me to this knowledge. I know faith works. I know one day at a time, grinding away at this program. There's good, there's bad, there's ups, there's downs. But this is markedly better than anything I was doing before. Do I know that there's a better life for me? 100%. Do I know that there's a better way for anybody else in my position who's struggling? 100%, I know that. Can I flick a light switch and give that to somebody? No, that person has to want to get there themselves. I can provide all the information I want. I'm not going to save anybody. And there we land on that old idea. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink, man. Have a great Saturday, guys. I hope that's enough preaching today. I really felt a little preachy on that one, man. I really did. But it was a fun idea for me that I wanted to put out into the ether. So I'm going to watch it back. Hopefully it's coherent and I can put this one in the books, man. Take care. Have a great weekend, guys. Bye.